A very good morning to you. It's bright and early. I trust that you're well wherever you're catching this broadcast from. Thank you so much for choosing KBC Channel 1. News Check is the program you're tuning into. And of course, this is a program that seeks to explore issues shaping the news. This morning, we'll be talking about the 2022 Succession Politics and Matters FGM. I will be letting you in on more on that and my guests a little bit later. But first, we want to take you to an event that is currently underway at the Movenpick Hotel in Westlands. This is an event being organized by the Ministry of Defense. It is actually an event that is going to see provision of research grants aiming at promoting interest and catalyzing research in space science and technology in our local universities. The event is currently underway. I just want us to cross over to that particular function and listen into what is being said.
On peaceful exploration to outer space. This led to the establishment of a satellite launching and tracking site known as the San Marco project in Malindi. The first satellite was successfully launched from orbit from this facility in 1967. Over the next 2 decades, 20 sounding rockets and satellites were launched into orbit. These efforts were exclusively for research activities on space science and astronomy by the University of Rome. However, none of the spacecrafts and launch vehicles were designed or indigenously in Kenya. With each nation now seeking to have our own space capability, there is need to support the knowledge and talented of our youth in our universities with research grants and other forms of non-monetary assistance to develop skills and competencies in space science and technologies to support our technological advancement. While it is prestigious for Kenya to be spacefaring and have assets in space, there is need for the investment to be put to good use to address socioeconomic challenges we face as a nation. For example, food security remains a pressing problem, a pressing concern in Kenya and the greater East African region. Space-based platforms have proven to be highly versatile and effective in providing data and information, useful information for decision-making in management of natural resources through mapping, environmental monitoring and weather forecasting, precision agriculture and early warning for natural disasters mitigation, such as droughts, floods, including the monitoring of large swarms of destructive pests, such as desert locusts. We have seen the youth, the innovations they can produce. About a year ago, we had the youth that were able to showcase their innovations in land use management, in land registry, in geophysical surveys. So I believe with these small grants that we are coming, the youth present here in our land institution will be able to give us more innovation in other sectors to spur development and technology in this country. In this regard, investment in tools and technologies that utilize space-based platforms and applications that aid in assuring food security is vital. I'm happy to note that the Kenya Space Agency is also offering grants to fund development of small-scale crop mapping application using artificial intelligence machine learning. The object is to promote use of space-based applications in capturing data on small-scale agricultural activities that constitute the main occupation of over 70% of Kenya's population. It is my expectation that today's awardees will take the task ahead seriously, and the products of these grants shall be used as inputs in future research initiatives to build on the momentum on the industry to ride on. Dear stakeholders, research is a vital ongoing endeavor that requires sustained support from all players. I appeal to our partners and stakeholders to join us in the effort of sponsoring programs and providing research and development resources for the advancement of the industry. As a way to engage with the private sector players, we are today launching a call for proposals for land cover data collection application development that will target startup companies in Kenya. As has been said, the award will be Kenya shillings 500,000 for each of the 3 best proposals. We hope this will open opportunities for the private sector to find their niche in the space sector and related applications. The history of our leadership in space-related activities could fade if we do not move with speed to re-establish Kenya as a leading space nation in the region. To this, we need our collective commitment and concerted effort to partner and work together to shape the future of the industry and to leverage on the potential of space sector in our socio-economic development. I'm sure the calls of proposals that are being given out today will lead to innovative solutions that will be able to progress this country forward. Because we have a lot of talent, we have seen it in the past, what youth are able to produce, provided they are given the necessary support in terms of research grants, and then the work that they can do can be wonders for this country. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to the upcoming Space Week scheduled to take place in April of next year, which is aimed at bringing together local, regional, and international space players from the public and private sector. It is hoped that the products from the grants that we are given today will be showcased at that event among other activities. With these few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to declare this award ceremony officially opened and invite all of you to celebrate the work done and usher future prospects to build on our success. Thank you very much, and I once again want to congratulate Kenya Space Agency for this great initiative of bringing us together, providing grants to our students, to our universities, to be able to showcase space, to take our space industry to a higher level in this country. So thank you very much and congratulations. Yeah.
All right, so that is an event that is currently underway, being organized by the Kenya Space Agency, a state corporation under the Ministry of Defense. What is happening there is today they are launching the award ceremony for research grants that are going to help, those who are interested in, doing research in space science and technology, and it's targeting youth from local universities. We have our reporter Yusuf Farah, who is part of this function, and we'll be getting more details about some of the expectations a bit later on. But in studio, we had already, I had told you what we want to discuss this particular morning. We just want to paint the picture on how the road is looking like towards the 2022 general election. I'm talking about succession politics. I'm talking about the promises we have witnessed on the campaign trail from different candidates who have come out to declare their interest in vying for different political positions. And of course, we'll also be talking more about our state of preparedness as a country for this upcoming general election. And in studio, allow me to bring in my guests for the show this particular morning. I have a panel of a lady and a gentleman, and I tell you, this is a show that you do not want to miss. Of course, let me start, they say ladies first. Looking all good. Gloria Oroba is a youth policy analyst, and of course has a vast of experience in the management field. She has over 13 years experience in work, 10 years experience in facilities management, project management and business operations, of course 6 years plus in construction management, and of course more than 3 years experience in entrepreneurship and startups, and very passionate about women and leadership and matters youth. And of course we'll be talking about the youth agenda as we prepare for the 2022 general election. And of course, we also have one gentleman who really came to the limelight at a very early age. A lot of young people are looking up to you, Irungu Nyakera, former principal secretary. And of course, he came into the public service in 2015 as the principal secretary of transport in the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. At 33, he was actually one of the youngest PSS at that particular time. And in 2017, he was reassigned to the Ministry of Devolution and Planning as the PS for Planning and Statistics. And I can go on and on about what he has been able to achieve, including, the organization that you run to help the youth and the vulnerable in the society. But we'll talk more about that in our conversation. Thank you, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, for creating time for us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So we're talking about the road to 2022, and you guys are in this particular road, and we just want to discuss a few issues that are shaping this, road to 2022. And I always starting by, looking at the issues. We leave the people first, and then talk about the issues that really matter for Wanjiku. When we're talking about 2022, you've tested the waters. You've seen what Wanjiku is calling out for. You've seen what Wanjiku needs. You've seen what ought to shape what will inform our decision on the next crop of leadership. I want to hear from you both. What do you think is pivotal in terms of the agenda that as leaders we ought to be putting on the table for Kenyans as we make decisions, as we decide which political parties candidates will be vying for, as we make those crucial decisions? What are the issues we should be putting on the table? Let me start with you, Irungu.
Thank you very much also for hosting us, and I'd like to greet our viewers and promising them a good show today. Mm-hmm. I think what Wanjiku wants is what's been promised and not delivered. The priority for Wanjiku is money in their pocket, in everything that we all do, that you'll be able to wake up to something that you're doing. If you have your job, or if you're not employed, you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, you're a farmer, that you actually are going to make money. So for that money then to sustain you. Secondly, it's about the health care, that you will not be bankrupted, or you'll not be calling on your neighbors whenever you get a cough or a flu, or someone gets admitted. And we saw that during the COVID period. A lot of people just seeking contributions. They couldn't sustain themselves. Of course, they are even paying that NHIF. Very few of us were able to do that. Our children, in that they're able to get the right education properly, all the way from the nursery to high school to technical. But even beyond that, the jobs for them. Today, the joblessness amongst the youth is over 65%. Yet, the population below 40 years is about 83% of our population. Mm-hmm. So with that, then every parent, the ones who are able to vote and the ones who don't, each of them is looking at what these kids of mine, what do they wake up to? So what is it that they can do so that these children do not engage in all the ills in society, in drugs, in alcohol abuse and all that. And all that is through actually getting employed or having a livelihood that then they can sustain them. And finally, I think all of us want a Kenya where it's secure, it's free and fair, there's no brutality from the police and all. So those are the aspirations of every Kenyan. And we'll talk about how far those have been realized. Yeah. But actually,
and
that's what
this promise is finally going to be delivered. Because you said they want what they've always wanted.
Yes,
so
they
how
have
come
not
they've
changed.
Always wanted this and they've never gotten it?
It's never changed.
What is the mismatch?
What they've wanted has never changed.
Yeah.
Because it's actually very basic. And that's why in every promises made, the voters have started saying we are just seeing a recurrence of the same things you promised us last time, but really not being delivered.
All right. Before I allow Gloria to come in, I've been following what you've been up to lately, Rungu. Let me just say on you a little bit. And recently you tweeted, I engaged with Wanjiku today. She no longer cares as much on who is in Tangatanga or who is in Kieleweke. Wanjiku is bleeding broke, and all she wants is for politicians to prioritize her health, her business, her farm produce, her children, her freedom, and her pockets.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about this.
Yeah, you see, I've been on the mini campaign trail in trying to popularize my candidate and getting to just be known and getting to know people more. But in so doing, I've also been seeking to understand what the issues that people have. And you're finding, even before someone tells you about their candidate and what political positioning they're in, they're telling you about their issues. And they're telling you about, we were promised that this road would be finished. With this road not being finished, we're not able to take our produce to the market. It's costing us so much to get the boda to even come collect. They're talking about their milk. They're saying we are being paid 35 shillings per kilogram, but the cost of the feed is about between 25 to 32 shillings. So they're making about 3 shillings per kg of milk. They're telling you about their children and the alcohol dens, what they're calling the keg dens in the evening, where they're all going. And during the day, if you go to those keg dens at 2 in the afternoon, you'll find them drunk. Yeah, and if you ask them, because there are those places for boda which are called labor slots. If you go there, like yesterday, there's a gentleman I met. He told me he had made 40 shillings yesterday. So, and he's been there the whole day. He does not own that boda. He needs to give the owner of the boda 150 shillings. So those are the things that actually they want addressed. Of course, those things will have to be addressed through a political process.
Exactly.
But those are the things that they actually care for.
Yeah. Are we mature enough as a democracy to look beyond political parties and people and look at the issues? I'm not quite sure about that. We'll talk about that later. But Gloria, you have your foot on this particular road to 2022. Do you think you understand what Wanjiku needs, at least for people in your constituency? Do you think you have an idea what they really want?
Absolutely. Mora, from where I come from, Wanjiku is an equivalent of Mora. Mora doesn't want things. Mora needs basic things. And that's what Irungu is actually saying. It's not even about what they want. It's literally a roof over my head, just at least one meal a day, and some source of livelihood so that they can be, independent. Because right now, particularly in my constituency, Bobasi constituency, the level of poverty is insane. We are not even talking about living under $1 a day anymore. Back then they would tell you, if you can't earn a living in Nairobi or in the big cities, Eldoret or Mombasa or Kisumu, they tell you to go to the village, because the assumption was that when you go to the village, at least at the bare minimum, you have a piece of land that you can sort of, do some basic farming and have a direct source of food, But now you can't even tell anyone that. If you go to my constituency, by the way, the first thing is that they have subdivided the lands, which is so unfortunate, because we were in the past large-scale farmers of tea, large-scale farmers of many produce, bananas and all that. But now, because of the need to actually be able to sort of have a source of livelihood, support your children to go to school, support your family so that they can also be able to push some economic activity. So they've subdivided the lands, and to an extent that we no longer have large-scale farming in terms of even when you look at what we were pushing for the Big Four agenda on food security, putting over, 100,000 acres on commercial large-scale farming so that we can have that produce to push for the food security. These were the areas. Kisii was one of the areas that should have, or actually was being looked at in terms of ensuring that we are producing more products, such as bananas, tea, sugar, coffee. We were actually also coffee growers. So I would say, not that the question was, do I think that I know what Mora wants? Absolutely, because I'm Mora. I am Mora, and I know that when I wake up in the morning, at the bare minimum, I hope that I can have one meal a day, and I hope that at the bare minimum I can be able to take my child to school, and I hope that in the evening when we must come home to a shelter. So, the basic needs are still, these are things we are so way behind that we haven't addressed the basic needs.
Exactly. So having said that, both of you, don't you think we have shortchanged the Wanjikus and the Moras of this society? Because what you're saying is not new. This narrative has been there. Every electioneering period, we hear the same promises about jobs, about improved economy, about the war against graft, about curtailing the growing debt. I mean, it's the same old narrative. What usually goes wrong?
I don't think we have shortchanged. I think the electorate has been shooting itself in the foot. I think the voter needs to understand that every time they go out and vote for the wrong leader, the consequences are that they suffer. So if anyone should be held accountable, it should be the voter. And that's why we are pushing for sensitization, because, for instance, when I am campaigning, I don't campaign on promises. I don't go and tell them, when you elect me, this is how I'll use CDF. I already have running programs, which now I say, you see, mi nishaanza kazi. What we are going to do is we are going to continue. So, you can't say, we are used to the promises. Now leaders should come out and demonstrate. I know resources is an issue, but if you cannot demonstrate what you're going to do with the little resources that you have now, why should we trust you that when we elect you as a member of parliament, indeed, CDF will actually be used in a way that it will impact the society? So I think the electorate now should actually,
to the electorate.
Yes, the electorate now, what they should do, instead of listening to promises, ask yourself, what has Irungu done when he was PS, even now when he is pushing his foundation? What has Gloria done when she was ABCD, even now as a sort of leader of the community? Then I will come and say, I've done this program and that program, and actions speak louder. Once I'm able to demonstrate what I have done, then the electorate is not banking on a promise. The electorate is actually banking on something that has been demonstrated and is ongoing. Yes.
Okay. I don't know what you have to say about that. Some political pundits would say that, when you're crafting your speech as a politician, you touch on where it is going to matter. You tell them what they want to hear at the end of the day. So they want to hear about more jobs. They want to hear about improving the economy, money in their pockets, fighting poverty. That is what you tell them, without even necessarily yourself, you have not analyzed whether you're willing to deliver on those promises. How does this work?
I think I'll blame both sides. And I agree with Gloria. The first part, the people who should actually be blamed the most are the electorate. Because you see, sometimes, like right now, I've been talking to to my constituents, and sometimes after you've talked to them and all that, you hear one person asking, are you in, which is your party? What political party are you coming in? And I've been telling them, the political party that the person comes in is not the most important thing. Because at the end of the day, if something goes wrong in the constituency or in the county, we will not ask the party. You will not go to the party headquarters. You'll go to the individual who you actually elected. So the individual that you elect should be someone who actually exposes the change that you want. Someone who has done something, not just made promises, as Gloria is saying, someone who's done something. And I give an example of when the tea bill was in Parliament last year in November. And while Murang'a has the most number of factories, 10 out of the 69 factories, 10 are in Murang'a. Out of our 8 MPs and women rep, we only had 2 MPs sitting in Parliament at that time. And Parliament ran on until almost midnight on that day to debate on the tea bill. The person who spoke very passionately and defended the tea farmers and was pushing for this bill to be passed is Millie Odhiambo. Millie Odhiambo does not come from a tea growing area. She does not have constituents who care about tea or who grow tea, but she's the one who was speaking for them. So that's what I was asking. So these leaders will be coming to you for re-election, for a bid to be re-elected, and you tell me that you're going to re-elect them, yet you gave them an opportunity to serve, and then you saw what was done. So Wanjiku also needs to change. Wanjiku needs to also start looking out for themselves and saying, actually what I need is I need better roads. I need to have 3 meals a day. I need to have my children go to school. I need to have my businesses thrive. And the only way for me to have that is getting a leader who, if I look at their track record over the last 5 years, other than that one speech that they've made today, I will be able to see consistency in how they've been able to address issues that actually matter to me. And that's the person that they should elect. And regardless of the party affiliation. We've seen that a lot in Nyeri County, for example. Nyeri is one county which has never elected a suit other than the last election in 2017. They always elect the individual. Another place we see is Gatanga constituency. They always elect actually the different party, a person from the main party of the day, because they look at what is this person going to deliver. And from that, we see actually there's always delivery and there's always growth in those areas. But then on the other side, I'd also blame the leaders because for me, I want to run. I intend to run in the coming election. And I've already consulted myself. I've called myself for a meeting. Yeah. Mkutano. Yeah. And I've asked myself, do I really intend to serve? Yeah. Is this a calling that I'm going for, or am I going for fulfillment of my own interest? And to be honest, if it's about personal interest, I can be able to fulfill them outside the political sphere. But I have the intention to serve. And so the leaders, when someone is stepping up and saying that I want to lead, they also need to have consulted themselves and actually come out clearly that their intention is genuine and real and that they do want to serve. Because as you say, people can come up and be able to dupe others through the wave. Maybe you come to the big wave, come with big money, throw money around, you get some goons and all that, and you get elected. And then from there, you take people 10 years back from where they are. When you're thinking about it later, will you really be proud that people gave you an opportunity to serve them and all you did was serve yourself? I think even for the leaders, that's the real thing that we also need to ask. How many leaders,
such leaders of integrity do we have, who will call themselves for such a meeting, such a crucial meeting, and really weigh the options? Do I really want to serve the people's interest, or do I want to serve my own interest? How many do we have?
It's a conscience. It's a conscience, because and I guess some people look at it as their way of eking a living. Want to go run for MP or governor or MCA or whatever to eke a living. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, and the people are speaking about the progress of the constituency and they are listing, these are the last 10 MPs we have had, will they be speaking about you in a way that you actually brought change? Like we have an MP from Kandara and Gatanga who served 2 terms, was called Mushigi. To date, 20, 30, 40 years later, that's the only person they talk about. I think I'd want to be such a person, and I'd hope that many people who step up for the positions of leadership will actually want to be such a person.
All right. So you said that for these aspirations to be met, they have to go through the political process, and that is where it always now gets even more dirty because now you have to you align to a specific political party, align to a specific candidate. I mean, how do we go about this tricky equation, Gloria? Because now a candidate will come and tell you what you want to hear, and they will tell you, I'm vying with this political party, and then the politics get into, the whole process. How do we balance this equation?
What is unfortunate is you cannot isolate governance and leadership from politics, because our leaders are elected. So the reality of getting elected is that you have to be churned through a political party. And the few who have actually managed to vie as independents, there are few here and there. But even when you look at after they get elected, when they now go into parliament, they still have to align with certain political parties or align with certain, political divides. And the unfortunate reality of that is that personally, as a person who's coming into politics as a fresher, my first time vying for Member of Parliament in Bobasi constituency, you cannot imagine that, no, me, I'm not interested in political parties, and I just want to come and serve my people. For you to get there are mechanisms, and those mechanisms include or rather on the highest of that list is that you have to be in a political party. So the biggest challenge with this political party affair is, unfortunately, very few political parties in this country actually are founded on an ideology. And at the end of the day, you start, people will tell you, when you go to this region, this is the political party that if you are in, you have the most chances of winning. And then you find yourself in a political party that you actually do not care much of the ideologies, do not care much of the foundation, but because you have been advised that, in this region, kama unataka kupita, utasimama na hii chama. Although what I would like to say is, and maybe Kisii is one of the regions where we've been very pragmatic, and people don't vote political parties in Kisii County. That has been demonstrated over and over. In my particular constituency, actually, last elections, we had two very strong candidates from the two big parties, Jubilee and ODM, and they were actually defeated by a completely unknown person who was vying under a very small briefcase political party, who is our current sitting MP. So over the years, Kisii County has actually demonstrated that political parties is not what they vote for. There's even this fallacy that they push that Kisii County is an ODM stronghold. And simply by the fact that they have the county seats, the governor, the Senate, and the women rep. But that's the only seats that ODM actually would, confidently say that, these are the seats we have. For instance, they never had any member of parliament until the by-election for Bonchari a couple of months ago. So I think the electorate is also starting to understand that we are not going to just elect you because you have come with the wave of UDA. Right now, there's a big wave of UDA in Kisii County. And, everyone would prefer to be in UDA because in Kisii County it seems to have really popularized itself with the hustler and what. But, that doesn't mean that if you get a UDA ticket, you'll just sit pretty and automatically win. Yeah, because that's the mistake. That's the mistake. In Kisii, by the way, they will vote for you, Serfine. They'll vote for an individual. They will question where you've come from. Who is your mother? What have you been doing? You as a person. Even if you come and say, I'm standing by William Ruto, they'll still say, that's okay. But then what about you? And I really wish and I hope that in the 2022 general elections, other regions will also start understanding that, yes, a political party can be one of the reasons I'm voting you in, because some of them actually have ideologies and have pushed a sort of narrative that resonates with the people. But then, when we are voting, we also need to start understanding, once you vote for Gloria Roba under UDA, it's not, if UDA is underperforming, it will not translate to her underperforming as a member of parliament, or vice versa. So I really hope, and I'm one of the people pushing for UDA as a political party because I believe in its ideologies. But I'm also one of the people saying, aside from your political party, what do you bring to the table? Offer? Yes.
Irungu, I don't know, when we see what is happening around this season, there's a lot of realignments and coalitions being formed and same face agenda, same things that we've had before. At the end of the day, what questions should Wanjiku be asking themselves before they choose to go whichever side, as they see whatever is happening in the political space right now?
Yeah, I think that as you say, this same monkeys, different forests. And
what does it tell us as voters?
It tells us, you see, it tells and actually you don't have, you having new entrants into the space, in the political space. But then, of course, the new entrants coming in, they find that there are tricks that have been used before. And they have to learn those tricks. Because, the one thing you cannot do is to come and change the way people have been doing things all of a sudden. Because unless that way is changed from the very top by realigning the way institutions work, then as an individual it will cost you too much to try play a new game that you have set the rules. So I think the question Wanjiku should be asking is the same one we've been saying. Telling themselves, we have been voting from 1964. What is it that we have said? What is it that we have been doing wrong? We've been giving stories of South Korea, who are lending money, of Singapore, which had been declared, it was finished. It was nothing. It was a small, tiny island with nothing. People living in the streets of Thailand, of the Asian tigers, yeah, of even other African countries. Look at even a country like Rwanda, yeah. You see, our Wanjiko should know that even Kenya can actually head that direction. So they need to be asking, or we need to be asking ourselves, what is it that these people did? Yeah. How is it that they got the leadership that took them there? Do people actually get the leadership they deserve, or do the people actually elect the right leadership? Yeah. And I think it all boils down from the organization of the political parties as well. As Gloria has said, the political parties is still at the heart of the whole the whole political exercise.
You cannot separate.
You cannot separate it.
Politics and
even if it's you can go independent, that will be a very small percentage. It will be your 5%, 3%. All the others will go through the political parties. So these political parties, one, do they have ideologies? Yeah. Personally, I was the chairman of political parties liaison committee until earlier this year. We have 71 political parties. So all these political parties, a lot of them don't have anything that they stand for. All they know is that around election time we make money, we get, we give certificates. Yeah?
You can say that on record, so that we can hear, because
it's true.
We get, they say, wooing the electorate.
Yes.
You know. Yes. Tunaingizwa box, and without even knowing what this political party is standing for. What are they really after your own interest as a voter?
You see, the big political parties are the ideologies, the individual. Today we have two horses. We have on the one side we have Railas and his team. On the other one we have Ruto and his team. If you ask people what do these people stand for, they'll say Sitko bottom up. Ama we are with Baba, but there's nothing that they say that there are promises that will come. Yeah, and even these promises.
Although that has shifted, because someone says to go bottom up, at least they are referencing an ideology.
But
they're not referencing an individual.
No, but it's not an ideology that they expect to bring any change to them. You see, they've been voting. They say we always vote, we vote. Yeah. So 2022, all they're doing is they're just carrying on their civic duty.
No, I think actually that has changed.
No, it actually hasn't changed. And during which period they expect to be paid? You see, voters on Ajua, around election, people who are coming to run will come, they'll give us some money, and then after that, hatutawaona for another 4 years, then they'll come again with another direction where they want us. So if we could change that, yeah, where we actually expect something out of the election, yeah, we got a lot of promises in 2017. We were promised we'll have 100,000 interns annually from all these TVETs to get jobs. We were promised the big four. Most important for me, I look at the issues of universal health care. We were promised the manufacturing under the food security issues and agro-processing. These ones were going to create a lot of jobs for the youth. And that's what they bought. But those ones have not been delivered. At all. And so as people are going into 2022, they are looking at it and saying same things. The same way we were lied to last time, we'll be lied to again this time.
This level of hopelessness that you're painting, Irungu, you're dealing with such a populace. You're targeting people to vote for you based on your ambitions in Murang'a County. What are you doing to change that culture of hopelessness, that culture of pay me first? What is your game plan?
And I think, for me, for example, I'll be running for governor in Murang'a County. And I've been at the forefront of fighting for the rights of farmers in the tea and coffee sectors through the reforms that have been coming up through in that space. And the farmers who are involved, who actually partake in that. Tea, we have about 81,000 farmers in Murang'a, and coffee is about 77,000 farmers. So those ones actually have seen what I have done. So even as I come to tell them about the promises I am making towards 2022, they can relate, because it was not easy. the journey of the reforms, the tea reforms, took about 3 years to get to where we did. And they saw that all along I carried them along to get to where we are. So anyone else who wants to run, I've been saying, what is it that they are offering? Because if someone comes and is a competitor of mine and is offering something that I can see, this guy actually has a track record, he's done something, and I'll feel, even if I don't get it, things will still work in this county. And I think that's what Wanjiko needs to ask. I think we need to honestly, genuinely look at the election as an opportunity to get rich, an opportunity to get our kids educated, an opportunity to have our country classified as one of the top business destinations. You see, and when we do not do that, and our Wanjiko today is educated, we have 100% transition into high school. So at least almost everybody has already attained their Form 4 certificate. So they are clear of what actually they intend. When you talk to the border people, they're telling you they're borrowing, the border costs 130,000. The people who help them buy the borders through the loans, charge them a certain amount, comes to about 300,000. They see in 2 years you have bought 3 borders with this interest. So they understand. So we are not dealing with an electorate that is illiterate. It actually understands. So what we need is, are we conducting civic education to get them aware of their rights and duties? Or is it not in our interest as politicians? We want to keep people in the dark so that they keep voting for us, regardless of the intentions we have for country. So I think that needs to be, and IEBC has a duty, but is it funded to be able to carry out that duty? Because funding follows interests. I think those are things that we need to talk about.
All right. Let's talk about something else that is shaping this road to 2022, and it's the economic agenda. And when I'm saying, talking about the economic agenda, is because most of the, so far, I would say so far, because others are yet to come out publicly and declare their plans for 2022. So far, those who've come out to declare their interest, especially for the top seat, have really centered their messaging around the economic agenda. The script is different, but the message at the end of the day is the same. And I want, first of all, to get your sentiments, Gloria, on this economic agenda for the 2022 succession politics. Why do you find it important? Why is it forming a very big chunk of the issues we are discussing this time around?
Before I answer that question, I want to say that actually things have shifted. It's not just about personalities. And you see, now we are talking about the economic agenda. The economic agenda was brought to the forefront by my party leader, William Ruto. That is a fact. When we started talking about the hustler, what we were actually ideally saying is that hard work must be rewarded. You can't just be waking up every morning, working hard, and cronyism and nepotism, and those are the people who are rewarded. So, I mean, when we decided we are going to push for those at the bottom of the food chain, and we are going to speak about the economic empowerment of those who have never really been considered when it comes to policies and issues on governance, then what happened is that that conversation resonated with literally, I would say, every Kenyan. Because today, as Nyakera has said, when I am looking at an election, I'm looking at the opportunities. It could be the short-term opportunities like, okay, let us go and receive 500 shillings by the road, and these guys will disappear for 4 years. But those who understand that they have been in that limbo for multiple elections, they are like, this is an opportunity for me to either elect a leader who's going to push my agenda, or for me to ensure that I corner these leaders to actually put my agenda into their manifesto. So, you know, when I try to be an optimist. So when I hear people saying that, you know, it's the same thing, same promises, well, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. In 2013 elections, the 2007 election, no one was talking about Mama Mboga and Boda Boda. No one was talking about going at the bottom and empowering those at the bottom. Maybe they might be talking about creation of jobs, like Nyakera said, with the Big Four agenda under manufacturing and what. But really, also when you are looking at the policies that they were trying to push, like I said, under, let's say, food security, putting 100,000 acres on large-scale and commercial farming, it was again going to be the rich who are going to be given those opportunities to go and lease all these small pieces of land from the poor, so that now we can say effectively we have taken like 50 by 10, 50 by 10 from all these poor people. We have chunked it up. Now we have 10,000 acres like we have seen in many different places. And then now those rich are the ones who are going to be told they are going to do the large scale. You understand?
All right.
So,
Gloria, allow me to cut you short just a little bit, because I'm told something is happening right now. We need to cross over very quickly, then we'll come back and pick up from there. The Nairobi Governor, Anne Kananu, is currently being sworn in as we speak right now. I just want us to cross over there very quickly and listen into this swearing in ceremony. Then we come back and continue with our conversation.
Kenya, in the office of the Governor of Nairobi City County, that I shall diligently discharge my duties and perform my functions in the state office to the best of my judgment, that I shall do justice to all. So help me God.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, as the swearing goes on, the Governor requested for this special song. Please put your hands together for Carol Rhythm.
That is currently underway, the swearing-in ceremony of the Nairobi Governor, Anne Kananu, who has just been sworn in. This is something that has taken quite a while, following a court battle that was presented courtesy of the petition by former Governor Mike Sonko, who was impeached and removed from office in December 2020. And of course, Kananu today is being sworn in as the third governor of Nairobi County. Kananu, who comes from Embu County, was born in 1980 and of course has studied in several capacities from her days at St. Michael Primary, and of course joined Lady of Mercy Girls Secondary School, and of course went all the way to joining doing her KCSE in that particular school before she pursued a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminology and Security Management at Dedan Kimathi University of Science and Technology. But career-wise, she has served in various capacities at the Nairobi County. As a Nairobi, from 2002 to 2003, she served as the customer service representative and of course personal assistant of the CEO, Mr. Korir Enterprises, and of course later served in various capacities capacities as well before she was appointed by the former governor as the deputy governor. And of course, when the governor was impeached, this saw her take office as the new governor. So we will just be telling you more about what is the way forward now that she has been sworn in, and of course coming at a very pivotal time as the country is preparing for next year's general election. We will, it will be interesting to see how this is going to pan out for her, and of course for all those who are also eyeing the gubernatorial position for Nairobi County. I just want us to go back to that particular swearing in ceremony to listen into some of the be part of the celebratory mood as the ceremony is currently undergoing, and then we will come back in studio and continue with our conversation.
Asante sana. Would like to welcome the Nairobi County Choir to give us a very nice, beautiful number before we begin this other part of the program. Nairobi County Choir for that.
All right, so there you have it. And Kananu has just been sworn in. She went into the Nairobi City Hall in 2018 in May, when she was serving as the chief officer in charge of disaster management and coordination. This is a role that she played until January 2021, when she was sworn in as the deputy governor of Nairobi County, of course joining in the list of female governors in the country. And Kananu there, we will be giving you more details about this as we continue with our day's coverage. But in studio we have been talking about the road to 2022, and I'm having a panel of two, a lady and a gentleman. Gloria Oroba, a youth policy analyst, and of course Irungu Nyakera, former PS, and of course a politician. We have been dissecting issues that are shaping the 2022 politics and what Wanjiku and the Moras of this day should be focusing on as we get on this. But of course, just before we get back to our conversation, I'm reliably informed that there's a terror attack in Kampala, Uganda. And of course, it's a developing story that we are also following up for you, a terror attack in Kampala, Uganda. And of course, investigations are currently underway. We'll be giving you more details about this particular attack in Kampala, Uganda, as we continue covering the news for you as well. So let's talk about 2022. And Gloria, sorry I cut you short before we went to Anne Kananu's swearing in ceremony. You were shaping this economic agenda, and you were telling us a little bit about the genesis of it and why it's crucial for 2022. I want you to finalize your point, and then I also give Irungu a chance to dive into
perhaps also a comment or two on the Anne Kananu swearing in ceremony. Yeah. I understand that as a woman we should be celebrating as well, but you know, for me this was a loss in devolution. So when you look at how she got there, and you know, the whole and we were making a comment with Nyakera that even the music, the background music in the celebration was Kikuyu. Those are some of the things that when we are trying. Yes.
No, really, I mean.
Yes. I mean, this is the governor of Nairobi, for real. It is actually a thing.
A playlist.
Okay. So anyway, back to the economic conversation. What I was saying is that as much as we have been given promises in the past, no presidential candidate has actually focused on those at the bottom of the food chain. And it's refreshing to see that when that conversation was actually put to the table, it was such a strong conversation that any presidential candidate right now who's vying has to talk about the economy. Musalia Mudavadi has to talk about the economy. Raila Odinga tried to craft it in a way with, buy Kenya, build Kenya, then the Azimio thing, but the bottom line was that when he even came to offer the 6,000 to every youth, first of all, and then to every household, it was still about the economy. So I don't believe that, you know, it's a situation of hopelessness and just, you know, promises that are never delivered. We are actually shifting our politics to issues, and we should at least, at the bare minimum, appreciate that whilst in other countries they are still on the tribal politics, the clanism, and you know, politics of you know, divisive politics, at least we can confidently say that thanks to William Ruto right now, we are talking about border borders, we are talking about Mama Mboga. So we have moved from Mount Kenya and Luo Nyanza politics to the economy.
All right.
Yes.
I mean, I wish it was that way. It's actually an issue we are focusing on, the economic agenda. But the question Kenyans are asking themselves is how this messaging has been crafted, poking holes in the how. You know, 6,000 for every Kenyan household. How realistic is that, and how sustainable is that? The bottom-up economic model, are we, you know, accepting our circumstances to really to kaya huku chini, let's grow this you know, bottom economy and not go up? I mean, what really is going on? Is the messaging the issue here?
I think okay, first, I don't think this is the first time we've campaign has been premised on the economic agenda. Previously, even the Kibaki campaign, the 2007, was on the back of his stellar economic performance of his government. Before that, he was about changing moving the country towards a more sustainable economy. Further into 2007, by then there was a Vision 2030. Of course, again, the agenda was really about how do we drive and position this country towards mid-income country status before the 2030. I think we've seen the comments from Raila on the 6,000 for youth, which are completely untenable. We are talking of 500 billion shillings, and asked on how do we fund it? We fund it from corruption proceeds. What if you don't collect? I don't know what happens to those youth, because you're supposed to start paying from your first 100 days. The agenda on the bottom up, probably because that's where it's hurting the most. That's where you're putting the money. And you see, for me, even before it was crafted, I was always talking about the bottom up. Actually, we call it the Kibakinomics, which is actually we call it the Kibakinomics policy, which is because the top down, trickle down economic policies have been seen to fail across, because what trickles down is always less. Yeah, so you put 1,000 shillings, 100 goes to the next level, 10 goes to the next level, all the way. By the time it gets to the bottom, it's very little that is left for the mwananchi, and that's why while 65% of our population is employed in the agriculture sector, agriculture is the least paying of them all because of the same. But when you're talking of the economy, and when the people speaking about it are actually the highest offices, I'm not hearing enough about our debt as a country. I'm not hearing enough at the recurrent expenditures. Currently, we are using about 66% of our ordinary taxes to repay debt, and it will keep going. It will keep growing, and it will grow even more. Because now with the forex going the direction it's going now, so we are almost heading to 113 on the exchange rate. For every 1 shilling movement in the dollar, we increase our debt burden by about 40 billion. Yeah, because 50% of our 8 trillion debt is in foreign currency. So I'm not hearing the top officers talking about that debt. I am not hearing them talking about the fact that today we are borrowing to pay salaries, which is against the PFM Act. So even as we are talking about what the future portends for us on the economy, there is nothing that is exciting me, because I am seeing a point where the dollar will be at 120, and at that point our loan will have gone up by a trillion. I am seeing a point where as a country we are potentially at a risk of defaulting on some of these debts that we have already taken, and nobody is talking about that. And as we squeeze the credit by government borrowing, we are squeezing the credit that is going to the small businesses, to your mama mbogas, to your to the commercial enterprises, which are the engines of the economy and which are the ones which are lending to everyone.
All right.
So,
before you continue, let me just take Gloria back to something she said about the bottom-up economic model, and this is something that has been said about that particular model. For you, just to clarify, there is the sense and the feeling that critics use this word, youths want decent jobs. Is there a lack of decency in the bottom-up economic model?
When people say youth want decent jobs, I'm one of those people who say that, because I have spoken against Kazi Mtaani like forever, because I think some of the interventions that government takes do not consider the kind of investment that parents have put in a child, to the extent that they have gone to take loans so they can pay for their university or PhDs and masters, for you to come and say, we are giving you a panga so that you can go and earn 300 shillings a day. It's not about that decency is not in manual jobs. It's really just about the idea that if we are going to push our youth to the TVET sector and say that we are going to create jobs within that sector, then that is exactly what we should do. When we talk about the bottom up, there is an assumption that we are saying that that everyone who is a hustler is poor. That is actually not what we are trying to push. We are saying that everyone who works hard in whatever trade, in whatever industry, should be able to actually earn a living, with a dignified living, from what it is they have chosen to do in terms of economic activities. So for me, I think when we are talking about work with dignity, and I've had...
All right, I know you're reading my body language.
Yeah.
I want to cut you short a little bit. We're coming to pick up on that point. I just want our viewers to see what we were talking about earlier, that blast in Kampala, Uganda. These images we are getting courtesy of Kampala Broadcasting Corporation. Of course, that there, we will be bringing you those images a little bit later, but news just in is that we are reporting a twin blast in Kampala, Uganda this particular morning, and we are yet to find out about whether there are any fatalities or whatever the damage this blast might have caused, and of course also the motive behind this particular blast, whether it could be a terror attack or not. We are yet to get clearer pictures about what that blast is about. But twin blasts in Kampala, Uganda, that is what we are reporting to you this particular morning, and it's a story we are following up for you as we speak right now. We'll be getting back to that any minute from now. It's a developing story, of course, we are tracking for you. So in studio, we are talking about the 2022 succession politics, and I'll just come back to you, Gloria. Sorry to have cut you short earlier, just to finalize on your point.
Well, the whole idea about dignified jobs for the youth, and I have to appreciate some of the work that the Jubilee government have done. When they were pushing for low-cost housing, that was actually to push the jobs within the TVET sector, plumbers, electricians, and just what we would call now the technical experts. So you have to appreciate that there has been some intention to actually create these jobs. We might have been digressed when we pushed for when we started talking about BBI and things like that. But when I listened to my party leader actually saying that it can be done, and I have been in government, so I understand how it can be done. And people say, why can't you do it now? I keep saying it's because he does not have the full autonomy.
Why hasn't he done it?
He's deputizing his boss, When you're a deputy, you follow the lead. If your boss says that now we are taking a break from the Big Four agenda, we are now pushing constitutional reforms, that is exactly what you do. You follow the lead. If the leader has decided we are going to drop the agenda, you can protest a little bit out of, maybe the humanity and the promises you made, but at the end of the day, you're still the deputy. So I keep telling people that, even Kibaki, when he was president, he did so much more than when he was holding his previous positions. So at the end of the day, you cannot expect that as a deputy president, you know, as much as you're elected together with the president, you don't have the full autonomy and all the instruments of power to actually deal with certain issues. Like now when we're talking of corruption, because you asked how, you know, will the 6,000 Kenya shillings be funded, or you know, and they're talking about we curb corruption and we use that money for ABC. When you're talking about corruption, I mean, Raila Odinga is in the handshake. You can't ask him how come you have not put to jail the KEMSA nephews and nieces, because he does not have the full autonomy of that. But he is also talking about when we curb corruption, I will use that money to give the 6,000. So people are also asking, how will the Hustler Nation, because you keep talking about you'll give money to the youth. And for us, it's very clear. The back-end engineering of it is that if you organize this informal traders, if you organize them in a way that you are providing a secure environment for them to operate their businesses, then when you go to a certain market and collect taxes to a certain extent, they will not be saying at Tulipi Kanjo, because they are seeing what the money is doing. So for us, it's about expanding the tax bracket in those different production areas at the bottom of the food chain. You talked about border borders. How are we taxing border borders? You know, that is a whole industry that nobody has actually said. You know, you hear of KRA going to, like now they have a drive of land rates. They are saying if you pay the principal, you know, you get exempted of the blah, blah, blah. They're trying to collect taxes from these other sectors. But if we put our focus on those at the bottom of the food chain, like the border riders, you organize them so that it has decency. Then you can also tax them. And then once you increase the tax bracket, that's where we will get our money from.
All right. Yes. I know this is a conversation that tukianza we may not even finish today. So I want us to, because courtesy of time, I just want us to finalize this conversation and put a comma to it. Of course, the road to 2022 is still far off, and we have a lot that we need to be talking about in the near future. But what's the way forward then? We've talked about the issues, and I like how this conversation has ended, because it's all about the issues and not even tujakuwa personal.
No, but I'm recruiting Irungu to UDA, so I'm trying to be nice
do that,
to you.
Yeah. You don't do that on my show. I'll charge you for that. So I'd like to give Irungu a chance to give us your parting shot. The way forward, what do you want Wanjiku to really think about as we prepare for the next polls?
I think there are three things. One is the role of Wanjiku. Wanjiku needs to understand that they're actually very powerful. Wanjiku needs to understand that this ballot is their way to freedom, is their way to riches, is their way to all the things that they've ever aspired for. We saw during the voter mobilization registration drive, very few of the young people came out to register. And on that, we're really hoping that IBC can have a second MVR like we did last time. And before then, we have proper civic education to the young people. We know they are hopeless, they feel hopeless. We know that they feel like they've been, there's nothing that they can be able to, that their vote means nothing. And that's why you find that they didn't come out. So we need to excite them about what exactly they can do. Secondly, is to the candidates, all the way from the presidential to the MCA. I think we need to be very genuine, both to ourselves and our people. We need to look at countries that have advanced. We need to start looking at the posterity and asking ourselves, in 20, 30 years from today, when we look back at, we were given an opportunity to transform, like the Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, to transform this country to be something greater. What did we do? Did we actually genuinely aspire to change this country? And then finally, to the institutions, because you have your IBC, you have all the different institutions that are the ones now that are going to be responsible for the next government. They have a constitutional mandate to ensure that there's a transition that then benefits, both a good transition but also one that benefits the country. So they need to stick to their role and do whatever it is that they can.
Okay, thank you. Your final words, Gloria.
You know, I don't have much to say this morning. I think I want to appeal to the youth that if you don't do anything about your leaders this coming election, you cannot complain. You cannot complain when your children are being charged for all the past loans that we have taken. And Also, if you don't set out to actually participate and actively say that I am putting my foot forward, can you elect me? Then you can't keep saying that we don't have youth leaders. So it's both sides. You have to actively be able to say, I'm going to choose the right leader. And if you think there are no right leaders, you must also be able to say, there are no right leaders. I've come out and I think I'm asking for ABCD. And I want to talk to my electorate in Bobasi constituency because, Serfine, I'm not only a youth policy analyst, I'm also a politician, and I'm vying for the member of parliament of Bobasi constituency. Gloria. I want to tell them, first of all, that it's time for change. Change can only be brought by by the younger generation. And we are here, so they should give us a chance.
Okay, you had to squeeze that in. Yeah? Thank you so much, Gloria Roba and Irungu Nyakera, for creating time for us, for both politicians also, but great minds when it comes to issues that are shaping the politics of this particular country. I appreciate your time. Of course, we will be picking this up in the near future. We want to switch gears and talk about something also that the country is really currently fighting, much as female genital mutilation. What's the progress and what ground do we need to cover as we aspire to eradicate FGM come 2022? Is that even realistic? I will be asking my panel that question when we come back from this particular break. But for now, remember there is that swearing in ceremony of Anne Kananu, the Nairobi governor now, and we had been bringing you those pictures earlier. We just want to cross over there and leave you with those pictures as we await to kickstart our second interview on the other side.
Violence, I will also ensure budgetary allocation for the facilities as well as establishment of witness protection programs. My fellow Nairobians, distinguished guests, I would like to add that we will continue to use a strategic position in the country to ensure that it can continue to be the regional hub of the many visitors transiting safe home to the international agencies and businesses and the key contributor of income to the country's GDP. Let me thank you once again for putting your faith in me to fill this role. I wish to restate my commitment to serve you and to call upon all of you to join me in making Nairobi a great place to invest, live, and work in. Let me conclude by quoting Psalms 23:4. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I have the faith that God's abundant love, goodness, and mercy will be with me and also with you. God bless Kenya. God bless the people of Nairobi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the third Governor of Nairobi, Asante Sana. And now, while we remain standing, I would like to ask Ramadan Waziri to please lead us. All right, we shall stand by. Ramadan, please come.
Asanteni sana. Mnajua sasa gavana wetu amekuwa gavana na lazima akaribishwe kwa magavana wenzake. Kwa hivyo nitaomba nichukue hii nafasi nimuite mkubwa wa magavana, tafadhali kuja ukaribishe gavana, alafu tumalizie hapo. Na waomba msamaha.
Ogeza ngo nakolwa
And we are reporting to you this morning that 2 blasts have gone off at the central business district of Uganda's capital. Of course, the local press, they are reporting that one explosion went off at a shopping mall near the central police station, and another went off near Parliament. Of course, it is reports we are getting this morning, a developing story, explosions that are coming just a month after 2 separate explosions killed 2 people. One killed a waitress at a bar, and another a suicide bomber who had smuggled the explosive onto a bus. Of course, this happened in Uganda just last month. So security agencies are currently manning different parts of the central business district just to make sure that everything is in order as they follow up and investigate on this twin blasts that are being reported this morning at the country's capital, Kampala. Of course, so far we are yet to find out more details about the level of destruction and injuries or fatalities, just to get a confirmation on whether there are any fatalities or injuries and the exact number of who could have been involved in this, particular explosion. But it's news that we are getting live from Uganda. These pictures you're seeing on your screens there, the agencies they are trying to manage the situation in Kampala, Uganda, courtesy of UBC. Twin blasts being reported this morning. We will be giving you more details as we get information concerning the twin blasts in that particular country. The local media stations there just giving us information about the twin blasts. What we know so far is that one of them went off at a shopping mall near the central police station, and another went off near Parliament. So we'll be getting clearer details about this particular explosion as we continue with our day's coverage right here on KBC Channel 1. Of course, we want to switch gears right now. Earlier we were talking about the road to 2022, and right now we want to talk about matters female genital mutilation. We are coming up with that conversation right after this particular break. I have a panel of 3. I'll be letting you in on who they are, and as we kickstart that conversation in just a bit. But for now, allow me to take a very brief break. We are coming back with that conversation. Do stay with us.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
Your favorite Ekegusi station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest Kisi music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii and its environs. Minto FM in Nyamira.
All right, so welcome back. As we kickstart our second interview, we are talking about female genital mutilation. The reason we are doing this is because in our country, we are really racing against time to see whether we can beat our own deadline we set when President Uhuru Kenyatta led the country in committing to end FGM by the year 2022. This was in 2019 during the 25th International Conference on Population and Development. We were very ambitious as a country because this target is actually 8 years earlier than the global deadline that is supposed to be 2030. So can we beat our own deadline? What have we done so far? What ground do we need to cover? And that is what we want to talk about with my panel this morning. I'll just start by introducing them. This morning I'm hosting a panel of two gentlemen and a lady. I'll start with the far left there. The gentleman is Dr. Hassan Kinyua Omari. He is an Islamic scholar. Thank you so much, Sheikh, for creating time for us. And then we have Sadia Hussein. Sadia is an anti-FGM crusader. She's also the CEO of Brighter Society Initiative. Thank you, Sadia. And we have a young gentleman here, Lishan Kereto. Lishan is the founder and chair of Tareto Africa. And of course, he is also the youth advisory panel of UNFPA in Africa. Thank you so much, Lishan, for creating time. All right, so I'll just start with you, Sheikh, because I just want to understand a little bit about how this vice, FGM, and religion marry. Because most of the time we've always talked about FGM in isolation, but you see FGM is deeply rooted in culture. FGM also has its inroads in religion. There is a stand that religion has on this. Most practicing communities have a say when it comes to this. I just want to understand from you, what does religion say about vices such as FGM?
Thank you so much, sister, and thank you so much actually to KBC and my sister Sadia, who has always pushed me each and every time to talk about this. When you talk of FGM in this country and everywhere in the world, you try to see and tend to see some people intertwining FGM with religion, meaning that people hide behind religion when they talk about FGM. And in this concern, I'll be speaking about Islam. You know, when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was leaving this world, he told us, Inni dhahibun ila rabbi wa inni tarikum fikum thaqalaini kitab Allahi wa sunnati. I'm going back to my Lord and I'm leaving with you two important things, which if you hold to them, you'll never go astray. Those two things are Kitab Allahi wa Sunnati, the book of Allah and my tradition. And actually with me today, I've come with this book, which is Quran and Hadith. This one of the books I've authored. It explains how we should interpret Quran, because the problem is that people misinterpret Quran, and then when you interpret the two, then you come up with Islamic law. And that's why now we also have this book which we teach in the university, Islamic law. And in this book we have discussed all these matters, because today we will not discuss it at a length, so anyone who wants to understand them, then they are in this book. Looking at Islam,
does it have space for FGM? Does it give FGM a green light?
Islam
doesn't
give FGM a green light, because hadith of Prophet Muhammad is very clear. It says la darara wa la dirara. This is the greatest principle, that there is no harm or reciprocating harm to any human being. So anyone undertaking FGM with all the harm we know about women, those people are going against God's will. And also Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he also taught us to follow what he's doing, because Allah tells us in the Holy Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. You have in the Prophet of Allah the best example. Now the question I ask people who talk about FGM being anchored in Islam, did the Prophet, peace be upon him, conducted FGM to any of his daughters? Fatima to Zahra, Zainab, Ruqayya, he never did it. So if he didn't do it to his daughters, why are we doing it to our daughters? Then we also look at the wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him. There's none of them who was FGM'd. So why are we doing it?
Good question. And I'll come back to you, because you, as a religious leader, where do they get it from then? where do they get it from, that information that it's actually religion allows FGM to thrive? I'd like to get, also your sentiments as part of the opening remarks, Sadia, on that issue of religion vis-a-vis FGM. What narrative is being sold to girls, young girls in practicing communities? Some of them come from the Muslim community. What are they being told? What do the community believe in?
My name is Sadia Hussein, and I'm the CEO of Brighter Society Initiative. As he mentioned, yes, most of the scholars say FGM is not part of the religion. But unfortunately, from my community, yes, where FGM prevalence is at 94%, they do practice FGM because they feel it's a religious requirement. In fact, they call it Sunnah FGM. So now I think Sheikh has a big role to play by delinking FGM from religion and trying to clear the perception of the community. Because young girls, when I was being cut as an innocent girl, the first thing that made me cry for FGM is because I wanted purity. I wanted to purify myself, because you are told you are not clean. You cannot play with other girls, you cannot pray, there is some of the things, religious things you cannot do. So because you also want to fit in the religion, you want to fit in the culture, you have to go through FGM. And one of the most things that my community actually practice, one of the major reasons why they practice FGM is religion. They feel like it's a religious requirement, it's Sunnah to do FGM. And innocent girls today, some of them might be even going through FGM right now as we're speaking, because they believe it's a religious requirement. So I would still request, if he can clear that issue of Sunnah, I would really appreciate.
All right. I'm coming back to you, Sheikh, on that. You cried for FGM. That really broke my heart. And many girls right now, unfortunately, are in your position where, due to circumstances, they're pressured into begging and asking for FGM so that they can fit in, they can feel like they're full in the society. And I just want to get from your perspective as well, Lishan. Yours is coming from a point of culture, not majorly religion, but a society where you come from. Culture has really made FGM thrive. Culture has made it acceptable. Tell me a little bit about what women and girls in your community go through when it comes to matters FGM.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Leshan, a proud Maasai, and I'm very, very glad to share my insights on what FGM is happening in my community. That is a Maasai community. So in terms of the Maasai, it's really, and it's almost coming on board with how it's being done in Islam. People are looking for places to fakely really legalize their own interests. People are bringing on board their own interests, like to put women down, to control their sexual activities, and that way they are fixing it in culture. Our culture has done that for a very, very long period. But now we are speaking about a new culture where young people are in charge, young people are leading this conversation. And the Maasais for a very, very long time have done this. But for now, we are really talking about a culture that will really make us better. A generation that is going to remove all those cultures that do not have any necessary evidence from the background, that is from the culture, and we are taking it out. And that way we've engaged in so many ways, especially with the elders. As you know, that the president was sometimes back in Samburu in March to declare, together with the Samburu elders, to end female genital mutilation in Samburu. And we had that conversation, and they were trying to weigh on what exactly is FGM benefiting us. We cannot continue with a culture just because it's everyone else did it. We do not have any evidence. There is no social or scientific evidence that FGM is helping us. So the Maasai community has for a long time done it, but now the conversation is changing. Young people, men are coming into really changing this conversation, and it was hard, but the elders are also seeing that, look at the repercussions that are coming on board. No culture will want their girls to be cut, then they go ahead and have maternal deaths. No culture will want their girls to bleed to death. No culture accepts that, and that is what the Maasai community is saying, and that is why all communities should come on board and actually learn from other communities, like the Pokomo, the Turkana. They are not doing it, and they are not different from us. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions. If you can hear some of them, they say that if a girl is not cut, then she will give birth to a disabled kid. There are women in the Maasai community who have not been cut, and they have come out to deliver kids who are okay, kids who are fine, and now the community is saying, well, we didn't have any evidence, so there's no reason to continue with this conversation.
So the narrative is changing progressively, though. Let's go back to they've talked about people are just looking for every slight opportunity to legalize. They say it's religion, it's part of culture, this is what makes it valid. Where do they even get this idea? And as a religious leader, what are you doing to seal some of these loopholes currently?
Thank you so much for this question. As my sister Sadia stated, there was a lady at Medina whose main work was circumcising women, meaning conducting FGM. Her name was Atuya. And people went to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to complain, and some of them to ask, what do we do with this lady? Is that allowed? The Prophet called her and he asked her, what do you do? She explained. And then the Prophet, peace be upon him, told her, show me wala tahniki. Go and just prick and don't cut it. You know, when you look at Islamic law, there was no anything in Islam which was just prohibited once. Like, for example, alcohol, it was not prohibited once. It was said that if you take alcohol, then you cannot go to pray, the first one. So that people will be delinking and quitting alcohol slowly. Then at the end, it was prohibited. So the same way, the Prophet, peace be upon him, had already started prohibiting FGM. But he started in a way that he could not offend the culture. So he told the people, the woman, go and just prick, but not cut. But what we believe, and in Islamic deduction, if Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, will have lived longer than that year, he will have prohibited totally. But even when we talk about it, if they were doing what they are saying, just pricking, but no one do that. They go and cut the entire clitoris. This is the challenge you are seeing in this world, and that is why it is haram, because in Islam we are not allowed to cut human beings' body or deduct it, because Allah tells us in the Holy Quran, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We have created human being in the best form. So the way we were created is the best form. So no one should go and remove any body part of any human being. When you come to male circumcision, that one is allowed because the Prophet did it and he talked about it. But female genital mutilation, we have to stop it, and we have to take care of our girls and make sure that anyone who does it, we just report him to police, and the police should take course, and the courts should jail these people.
All right. So what's your stand in terms of the active role you're playing to demystify this wrong notion, this wrong belief about FGM being allowed in religion? What are you doing practically as religious leaders to change that among even the Muslim community?
The first thing I've done, because of the literatures we have in our university, I've written documents, I've written articles, I've written books. If you look at this book, it says, it shows how we should deduct and we stop misinterpreting Quran. That's why I'm talking of Quran and Hadith, and those Hadith on FGM are here to demystify and tell people not to follow them. And also in this one, Islamic law, I've also shown people how we deduct, showing that if Prophet Muhammad could be alive today, he could have prohibited it. And lastly, I thank Sister Sadia, because I've worked with her in almost all the 47 counties of this country to talk about against FGM, and I believe we are doing well, and God willing, we'll continue doing the same from today.
All right, Sheikh. I started with you mostly because I understand you really have to step out for a certain engagement. So thank you so much for creating time for us, and you'll just allow me to continue with the gentleman and the lady as you just walk out. But of course, we're talking about matters FGM this particular morning. And in studio, I've been talking to Sheikh Hassan Omar, an Islamic scholar, and Leshan Kareto, the founder and chairperson, Tareto Africa, Sadia Hussein, CEO, Brighter Society Initiative. So as we continue, Sadia, you can just, occupy the space there. I'd just like to understand from you, Leshan. Leshan, you just jetted back from a very crucial conference that was discussing this matter. Tell us a little bit about this conference and some of the deliberations that, you came out with from that particular forum.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was able to go to Senegal on the 1st of November to join the Global Roundtable Youth Conference on FGM that was organized by the Joint Program for UNFPA UNICEF against FGM. And we were taken there by UNFPA Kenya. I was representing the Youth Advisory Panel of UNFPA, where I'm a proud member. And we were able to really join, together with my colleague, to join several other young people from different countries to come on board and share ideas and come on board with the Global Youth Consortium on FGM, where we are able to have a pool of young people who have resources, who bring on board their experiences to end female genital mutilation across the world. As you know, that female genital mutilation is well across different countries, and we had representation and presentations from different countries. We were proud to have a conversation where we really actually told a lot about what we are doing in Kenya towards ending female genital mutilation. Some of the outstanding presentations that we did is about the proud personal commitment by the President Uhuru Kenyatta, who outstandingly came on board to personally commit to end female genital mutilation by 22 next year. And people who are amazed at the conversation that we're having in Kenya, what the Youth Advisory Panel is doing to bring on board young people, build their capacity. After building their capacity, they give them a forum to speak, to share ideas, and that way also they go ahead and fund some of the ideas and activities. So we were able to share many of those, and we were able to come on board with the Global Youth Consortium on FGM, and then we were also able to interact informally. Each one of us engaged in creating the vision, in creating now the Dakar Declaration to end FGM. We have decided to end FGM by 2030, and this is our generation. As you know, this is the decade of action, and young people are the people who are deciding on what exactly we want to do. Our conversation was putting young people first on ending female genital mutilation, and I'm very, very proud that UNFPA Kenya has put us on the forefront, has trusted in us to give our ideas, and has empowered us, and is taking us into better conversation to make sure that we
Lishan, I'll come back to you. So young people are currently being brought on board. How is that crucial? You'll tell us in a little bit. Sadia, so by 2022, the President personally committed that we ought to have ended FGM in our country. Of course, the global deadline is 2030. Are we edging closer to that? Looking at the much we've done, do you think it's achievable?
I'll be optimistic. I will say yes, it's achievable. But if we really come together and all of us commit to end FGM, because ending FGM is not a one-man show. It's not something that can be done by only one organization or by only an individual or by just the government. It needs a collective responsibility whereby we all come together and say we have a problem, we acknowledge that there is a problem, and we all commit towards ending FGM. One more thing, in Kenya, the prevalence of FGM is at 21%. That's the national prevalence. And the number of survivors that live with the scars of FGM are over 4 million. My community alone, FGM stands at 94%. Then we have others with 84%, we have others with 86%, then we have 78%, all these, including his community at 78%. So now the question is, 78%, starting with my community.
And these are figures that are in
currently,
yes. These are current figures.
These are current figures.
Yet we just have a few months to 2022.
Yes, and we have 22 hotspot counties where FGM prevalence is above the national prevalence. The lowest hotspot county has 22%, which is Taita Taveta. It's above the national prevalence. So we are talking about counties that practice FGM higher than even the national prevalence. That's 22 counties. So now coming to my community, 94% simply means 9 out of 10 girls have already gone through FGM. So my dearest, if that is happening, then that simply means the 9 girls who went through FGM will again subject to their daughters.
Because, and the cycle continues.
Yes, exactly.
It's what others went through. So
how are we going to stop this cycle is for us to engage these survivors. For a long time, we talk about engaging the religious leaders, engaging the young people, engaging blah, 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 but we forget the victims themselves. The people who survived FGM are the people who are further subjecting to their daughters. For example, like myself, I'm a survivor of FGM, but I really protected and saved my daughters. I have 3 daughters. My firstborn is 13, second is 10, and the last is 7. So my 3 daughters are free from FGM. How are we building the confidence of other survivors to come in front of the camera and say, it happened to me, and what happened to me was wrong, and it should never happen to my daughter. And
let me just take you back. So what do you think is the biggest contributor to these high prevalence rates? We've done a lot as a country. A lot of campaign, anti-FGM campaign has been done in the country. We've invested resources and time in this. Why are we still at 94% and 98% and 70-something%?
Because we have forgotten the critical people that should have been involved, which are the survivors themselves. Because if we are talking about FGM is harmful, FGM is painful, but the person that it happened to her is not feeling that it was harmful. So how do we convince her that whatever happened to you was wrong? Majority of them, the 4 million we are talking about, I think not even 100 of them, 100 out of the 4 million are even saying what happened to me was wrong, or even trying to save their daughters. So where are the 3-point-something million women and girls? Where are they? That means we really need to build their confidence, and this is what I will honestly tell you. Majority of the survivors come from these, deep-rooted cultural or patriarchal places where a woman is not supposed to be heard, leave alone being seen. Women are not supposed to be heard. So if the culture says a girl should have gone through FGM, then they don't, that's an authority for them. They don't have to go against it. How do we build their confidence and tell them, speak out? Because if there is a man who is supposed to be involved, if there is a religious leader who is supposed to be involved, and the survivors themselves don't beg and tell them, what happened to us was painful, this is my personal testimony, sharing their own. That's why next week, inshallah, Mungu akipenda, on Thursday, I'm hosting a survivors' voices, how to amplify survivors' voices on the media through the global media campaign. They have really supported me to speak in front of the camera. They built my confidence. How about the others? So we are trying to bring them on board.
Such stories should come out, so that people can understand the impact.
This is the reality, my dear. We need to build the confidence of survivors, because currently 2 things are happening. Number one, as a young girl, I rushed to FGM. I fell into the trap of FGM because I was running away from the community pressure, the stigma. Now you are a survivor, you are exposed to the world. The moment you go to such conferences he's talking about and you say, I'm an FGM survivor, some people will say, oh, survivors are useless, you have went through FGM, you are no longer fit again in the global, you get what I mean? So there is another double stigma. So majority of survivors do not want to speak about FGM because they feel when they go to these forums, they are further subjected to another stigma, whether some people say, because they tie FGM to sexual whatever, they feel like they are no longer important. You get what I mean? Which is not even the case. We should end FGM because it's harmful. We have a lot of problems and complications attached to FGM, and we should end because of that. Not because now again men want pleasure and all that. I have a right to my body. I have to protect my body because I should remain as God created me. Not because someone wants something from me.
All right, Sadia. Leshan, as you come in also, she has really pointed, spoken very strongly about the campaign strategy should now move to the survivors. Let them be the one to tell the story and to speak of the impact. You also are driving a campaign that is strongly centered on the young population. Talk to us about the role of the youth in eradicating FGM.
Thank you so much. I think the youth have a big role that they have played, are playing, and will continue to play on ending female genital mutilation. And I'll start by what Sadia has really raised on really taking care of the survivors. Personally, I really have a lot of contact with survivors, and we have conversations. That is what actually made me come into this conversation, because of survivors and the ways that young people are doing to take care of survivors. One is a psychosocial support. There are initiatives that have helped found, led by other young people, to try and counter this, the psychosocial effect, the stress, the post-traumatic disorders that are brought on board by FGM. Look at the bitterness that is brought on board to your mother because she put you through FGM. Earlier this year, we organized the International Day for Zero Tolerance Against FGM, the first ever conference we ever organized in my university. I was glad to be the founder and the team leader. We organized this, and we brought on board other mental health experts to bring on board who are young people, to talk to young people on how they can come up with initiatives to take care of this, of these survivors. And we had this conversation on how we can come on board with child protection rights, we can come on board with caravans, we can come on board with campaigns going into the grassroots. Later, next month, between 7th to 14th, we are going to with the Medical Missions Africa to East Pokot to go there and campaign. And I'll be leading an anti-FGM in partnership with other organizations. And we are bringing university students to come on board as we have a medical camp. We are going to lead a Pokot conversation with different, coming up with a dialogue with different people. These are some of the things that young people are doing.
Why should it matter to them, young people? Why is it important to them?
It's important, first of all, because it's their generation. They are the people who own up this. It's their sisters, it's their girlfriends, their cousins, it's their colleagues, it's their classmates. These things that are being faced are theirs. Secondly, it's because we want a community where our kids, I do not have kids probably like Sadia, but I will get kids. But I want them to be able to be looked at in a way that they can stand out and say that female genital mutilation is not something we should do. And it's something that, as well as we take care of the survivors, we also look at our sustainable component to make sure that our conversation and what comes from the previous generation to our generation is based on social facts and scientific facts, so that we don't do things because we want to manipulate women for sexual purposes. That is not something we want. And also because young people are the people who are leading the conversation for gender equality. Gender equality will not be real if we still have FGM. It will not be real. And so us as young people who are very, very strong advocates for gender equality do not feel that these things should come into our conversation. We shouldn't be talking about this past 2030. And so that is why young people want, because they are very creative. I have to tell you that